Welcome to Time to Teach with Tammy, the podcast that gives tips, advice, and suggestions to teachers by a real teacher. So sit back and enjoy. And oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe. And we're back. Welcome to episode 38 of Time to Teach. Today's episode is entitled Paper Town. Now, this is a tiny topic, and if you don't recall, or perhaps if this is your first time hearing about it, a tiny topic is not tiny because of its length. It is tiny because it does not fit into the series. So currently we are in the middle. Actually, I don't actually know which point we're at, but we are in Series 6, Amazing Units by Design. So this is kind of stepping back and just talking about a project that's going on in my class. So of course this could fit into Amazing Units, but it doesn't exactly follow what we've been following. So in a bit we will go ahead and we will dive right into that. But right now I would like to update everyone because I know you're all wondering about the leg incident. So if you recall a couple episodes ago, after my interview with Carrie Bauckham, has nothing to do with her, it just happened to be after we had that interview, is when I had been experiencing some pain during the day, and it was after that interview that it just became excruciating pain. And I went, and the last time that I updated you guys is that I had the MRI results, and that on the report it had stated that it was a ruptured total rupture of the tendons and something else about something else. I don't know. Grade 2 because of the muscle lesion. I don't really know. But anyway, yesterday I finally was able to get into the doctor's office so that he could explain what all of that meant in terms of what do I do, what don't I do, what are my next steps, what are we looking at, doc? So I got in, and first time really, he was not the one who examined me when I first went into the emergency room, but he kind of just looked at my leg, did a little bit of moving my leg, seeing if I had any pains, how I can or cannot move my leg. And I'm not in pain anymore. I'm off the medication, so that was good. He discovered that. Then he looked at the actual X-rays, and which were great. Everything looked great in the X-rays, and then the MRI, and saw where the muscle was very lit up, and told me that I had a great injury. But he believes it is a strained muscle. So not an actual rupture of the tendons. That was good, because everything that the internet was telling me was that would require surgery, and I'm a scaredy cat. So I was so very happy that that's not what ended up being the case. But yeah, anyway, apparently this is an injury that soccer players get, which is comical if you dismiss the pain. Comical because I'm like the very least athletic person in the world, but of course that would be me. I mean, that almost really kind of summarizes my life, the non-athletic person who gets a soccer injury, or an injury that soccer players get. So I don't know, that was interesting. So that's the update there. So really, all I need to do now is just to rest per doctor's orders, 4 weeks of no exercise and no shopping, because when you shop, you walk, and I'm not supposed to be walking a whole lot. I should not be using the stairs, but if I absolutely have to, minimal stair walking and no carrying of anything heavy. So that's it, people. I was quite excited because I was a little bit worried initially about what was going to come of the first report of the ruptured tendons, and then just to learn that that wasn't the case. Whew, you don't know how pleased I was to hear that. Okay, moving right along to our wins and fails segment. I would have to say a win this week is right now we are in our technology cycle. So we have every bimester, and again, if you haven't heard me talk about my bimesters at school, our school year is divided into 5 periods. So they're roughly 7.5 to 8 weeks long. So 5 bimesters. And so every bimester we go into the technology lab for about 6 days. And that class is given by the technology teacher, and it happens to be 45 minutes of our regular class time. So it's always very, very challenging to figure out, obviously if you're in another classroom with your kids for 45 minutes during your day, you're cutting something out. And it seems like it should be so easy to say, well, yeah, we're going in there and working on this, so I could cut this out. It usually doesn't work that well just because we also have other things that are happening in the classroom. So like next bimester, they'll be typing up their book, so you would consider, well, that's writing workshop time, which it is. But then I don't know what exactly. I know that they're working on persuasive writing next bimester, so there could be like key points that I can't actually miss, so we would still have to do writing workshop on top of that. But this bimester actually does work out very well because they are using Google Slides to do number bonds, learn how to search for images. So they create images, will search for the images, and they'll learn how to copy and paste these images so that they match the number bonds, and then write a number sentence, and also do a little like actual sentence. There are and all. So this is very lovely. This very well works out to include part of my math workshop time. So I have been able to take that time and have that be the majority of math workshop. We do an hour of math. So then we go back in, and the rest of our math time is math centers. It works out for these 6 days because we always tend to kind of finish in our curriculum a little bit early. So curriculum is everything, people. It's not just one textbook, but in terms of what we are kind of mandated in our curriculum to actually go over. So I've reached all my teaching points basically. So everything, they're still doing the math. And this was much of what they have been doing the last bimester, working strongly with number bonds. So it really is a good extension, and so it just happens to work out very lovely that I'm finished with all my teaching points. We're about to close the bimester, and so this can be included for the time. It makes it much easier without having to make major changes in the rest of my day. Okay, major fail, and I only actually just realized this fail as I started to record. Because I knew that I wanted to do this episode on their paper towns, I decided to sit with one of the groups this week and interview them while they were really kind of working through their town. And after I played it back, I realized that the audio was not that hot, just not something to write home about. And I've been trying to work on it. Well, I worked on it once with the intention that I'll probably go back and try to work out the audio issues. But at this point, I don't know if I can actually save it. And it just dawned on me as I started to record, I know exactly what went wrong. I never switched over my mic. I had my microphone plugged in, but I use Audacity. So every time, if you're not using the internal mic, more times than not, you have to actually go in there and then click on the microphone that you're using. So I always have to go in, and just change the microphone to the USB microphone. I totally forgot to do that. So it was my internal mic that was picking up the audio, which explains why the audio sounded horrible. There were only 3 students in this group because one happened to be absent that day. Most of my groups are groups of 4, 5 at the max. But anyway, a student was absent. So, I was wondering, why are some of these students so difficult to hear? And I had the microphone right up to their face. Well, that's why. So that was a major fail. And again, that's me making really silly mistakes that I have made over and over again. And I'm just kind of wondering, at what point will I internalize that kind of stuff? I don't know. I've been doing podcasting now since May. I've known since May that you got to switch the microphone. So someone please tell me, when does this become internalized? And I will automatically check. Please tell me. Okay, and just one last little tidbit before we get started. So it dawned on me that some of you might have the same questions. My husband and I went to Super Bowl get together for Super Bowl, and podcasting got brought up, and we were kind of talking about it, and a friend of mine asked, do I script my podcast? And I thought it was a very interesting question, and then I thought, well, gee, maybe others have that dying question. They just want to know, Tammy, do you script your podcast? So I thought I would share. I don't. I don't know, I guess I should say, I can't follow a script. I don't know what that says about me, but I actually have a very difficult time. If you were to give me a scripted textbook, I've tried that. I cannot follow scripts. I need to just kind of know my stuff, and I do it. I will write guiding questions, like if it's an interview type show. If it's something that's very kind of in-depth of information, like this series, it's kind of heavy duty, I will take notes. I'll take notes of things that I want to make sure, like bullet points. I want to talk about this and that. I will do that because I have to have a clear idea of where I'm going, but I can't do scripts. I never have been able to. In fact, the first time that I actually discovered that I can't follow a script, and I don't know if this is the way, just because something with my mind, the way it works, that I can't follow it and do something well, I don't know. But it was actually at the first school that I taught at here in Mexico, because when I first came down, the first 3 years, I taught at a different school. And I was asked to give a presentation to my elementary section, I think on understanding by design. I am pretty sure that's what it was. I could be wrong, but I'm feeling like I'm right. In any case, it doesn't matter. I had my whole presentation scripted, and not that I was planning on following it word by word, but it was, it was pretty well scripted, and I had slides that didn't really spell everything out, but they were, they really, really guided me. And I got through, I don't know, probably like the 3rd slide. And I had cards also, because I put them down, and I said, I didn't say anything, but in my mind, I'm like, I can't follow these cards and talk. So I put the cards down and had to just kind of go from the heart. And that was actually when I discovered that whatever is going on up here in my brain, it does not allow me to follow scripts and actually think. So I've got to either be following the script or thinking. So I have to just kind of go with the flow. So yeah, I just thought I would share that tidbit because I thought it was a really interesting question. And I thought, some of you probably really wanted to know that too. Just kidding, but gave you that little information anyway. Okay, so almost 15 minutes in, I think it's time that we get started. Okay, so paper towns. I have talked about this. I think it was in my hits and fails segment, probably. Yeah, I'm saying it was because I'm thinking it was. And it was, because it was a hit and a fail. and I won't rehash that whole thing. But so I wanted to talk about this project because there are a couple of things about this project that I'm really excited about, and some, disappointing aspects. But I really want to share what it is that I'm doing in the classroom, not because I think what I'm doing is fantastic, you guys. There's go to any other teacher, almost all of them, they're all probably better than I am. Really nothing I do is authentic. I can't actually think of one thing I do in my classroom that I did on my own. I borrow, I steal, and I beg, and that's how I get all the stuff that I do. Just kidding about the stealing and maybe sometimes begging. I don't know. But no, I borrow ideas, things that I see on Pinterest, Twitter primarily is where I get a lot of good ideas, and the paper town is no exception. So, and I had seen someone tweet out a picture they were working on. I think they called it a shape town, and I was very intrigued. I think I even tweeted back and asked for more information. Unless I missed the response, I don't think I got any more information. But, shape town, I think you can kind of design your own. So I thought, okay, well, that just looked really cool because of the design aspect. And I've been really also intrigued with this whole makerspace that I don't know much about. But aside from that, just students problem solving, I just feel like we, in this day and age, we're really, a lot of us, we're just the school system. We're producing students who have things just handed to them, right? We're handing all this information. I'm giving you all this information. I'm telling you this. You have a problem. I'm telling you how to solve it. I tell you how to do everything. I'm the teacher. I hold the keys to the universe. And I really think that we need to step back and ask ourselves, is that the kind of future that we want to create? And of course, I would argue that of course not. That's not what we want to create. And by no means do I think that was our intention. I don't think that we meant to go in this direction, but I do believe it's the direction we've gone in. And I just know myself intentionally as my own, master of my universe. I want to hand those keys over to the students, and I'm really kind of exploring in how I can be okay with students kind of struggling a little bit. I'm not talking about a frustrational struggle, but I mean, let them explore, let them create, let them problem solve. I don't want to have to be the one to have all the answers, because I don't feel like I'm setting them up for success if I'm giving them all the answers. So that's really kind of the genesis behind this. I saw the Shape Town on Twitter, and I've already been intrigued and looking for opportunities for design and creation and problem solving. And as such, this Paper Town project was born. So basically what I did is I thought, okay, what can this be? What could this look like? So I thought, okay, I can use the shapes aspect too, because that's something that we do this school year, is that we do look at shapes and, recognizing shapes in everyday objects. So I thought, okay, so I'll kind of put a limitation. These are the only shapes that you can use in your Shape Town. Let's see if I remember. They're just basic shapes, but I believe we said circle, triangle, rectangle, square, line. You can use a line, and you can use the flat shapes. Oh, oval was in there. You can use flat shapes, and you can use 3D shapes of these shapes. So that was kind of one limitation, because I wanted to have a challenge aspect to it. And then I also incorporated, I think, maybe a gaming piece to it. I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast yet, but I'm kind of exploring gamification right now, gamifying the classroom. Really not gamifying. I am doing something. But I'm just trying to learn a little bit about like, what is that? I don't even know. So I have this math missions game that is, it's just math. So it's these different missions. It's totally optional. The kids do them. Some of them are done at home, and some of them, the evidence is, mom and dad will email a picture or a video. Some of them are you turn in the evidence. It's done on a sheet of paper, whatever it is, and they earn points for their team. And so I thought, okay, this will be the one mission. This is mission 11, and it's done inside the classroom. So you have to follow all the specific protocol, like using only the shapes, having a complete town, creativity, and I think neatness, because I didn't really want to get a hot mess of a town. So all of those different aspects are worth points. So that's part of this missions game. So they actually have until February 22nd. So at the time that I am recording, it is February the 7th. So they'll still have about another cycle in math centers to be able to work on the towns. And the very first step, because one of the things was I wanted collaboration, and we obviously work together all the time. I'm halfway through the school year as I record this. But so I didn't exactly say this is how you're going to work with your group. I just basically said everyone needs to participate. Everyone needs to be doing something. I'm looking for groups that really are, problem solving together. They're being respectful. If a conflict arises, they are respectfully resolving it, because in my classroom, we recognize that conflicts really are, they're part of it. That's what happens. And that we can resolve these things and just work together to figure out what we're going to do. So the first step was they worked together and actually drew up some blueprints for their town, because I didn't feel like if they just went at, okay, we're going to build this town, they have no idea. So it's like, okay, let's do the blueprints, work with your group. I want you to close your eyes and visualize the things that you see in your own city. You can use things that you've seen in other cities. Just kind of think about what you would see in a city to help give you ideas. And then after they did that, then they had time to discuss it and then really plan and then drop their plans together. So that was the first step. And then the next day when we actually started, I gave them, I don't know what this is called in English, cartulina. I think that's poster board, the big paper. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Cartulina. I don't know. I should probably look that up. I think it's poster board in English. I only ever use Spanish words, so I'm not really sure. But they were given a big piece of cartulina, and that's where they had to build it. That, and they were given certain supplies. Clay. They have obviously construction paper. They have their scissors, glue. And I also had them bring in extra cardboard. So like just from cereal boxes, Kleenex boxes, anything like that they've been bringing in. Actually, I had to put a stop to it because I got so much cardboard that I'm a little scared of all the cardboard piling up in the room, but that's okay. And they're also able to draw on it and use markers, paint, whatever. We have not opened up the paint though. I feel like that needs to be a really controlled session. So I'm gonna have to think about how I do that. So basically that is what the paper town is. Now, as I kind of explained, since this is the first time they're doing it, I am working in that center with those kids who are working on it. So they're basically they're given their blueprints and they have to figure out. I do advise them, like, you might want to talk about who's doing what, and you might be able to get more things done quicker if you're all working on something. So of course I am kind of advising them, kind of coaching them along a little bit. Granted, I've never made a paper town, so I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea, you guys. Half the things I do, I don't really know. Just kind of experimenting. Some of it is scary. And then so basically that's what it is. And I have noticed that some of the towns, at least initially, I was really starting to get scared, and I thought, what have I gotten myself into? Because the first town was 100% flat shapes glued on to the cartulina. And that wasn't quite what I had envisioned. Granted, when I introduced this project, I showed them different pictures of different paper towns that I had found online. And of course, they're all on Pinterest, so they're like beautiful. And they were instructed that they could use flat shapes, so that was fine. And then the next group, I think, was also disappointing, but they might have incorporated 3D shape, I think. But anyway, it looked, I don't know, it just wasn't the Pinterest paper town kind of thing I had imagined. I think by the third town is when things started to change. So I was like, I kind of went into the third town feeling a little defeated on this project, like, okay, here we go again. But this was the town that I think I had an aha moment. First of all, they started using 3D shapes. They created a castle, they created a building, and there was a tree that they put up, and it was looking pretty neat. I mean, not Pinterest level, granted, but it was looking, pretty cool, I must say. And I just kind of stood back for a moment and I watched these kids as they were working. And one student who really kind of prevailed as, I think, an obvious leader who was able to kind of get the group going and okay, how about I work on this, and what are you going to do? And she really kind of got the wheels going on that paper town and making sure that everyone had a role. And I guess it was in that moment that I saw, okay, this was the collaborative piece that I was very interested in for them. And here they are, doing all the other great things too, with the designing and the building, and how are we going to get this to stand on the cartulina? And it was really amazing. And I thought, you know what? At this point, I'm going to let go of that fantasy of those Pinterest paper towns, because that's not going to happen. And I'm going to embrace their towns for what they are. And not only am I going to embrace it for what it is, but I really am thinking the process, it's the most important part of this. It's just the fact that they have had the time. Well, we're not even finished. We've only had one cycle through it, but they're being given this time to explore what this is and try to figure out how to create this town. And it's really neat. A lot of them are pulling from their own experiences, probably not so much the ones with the castles, but really thinking about the things that they see in cities and how cities work and what kind of things you would find. One group, they had said that they wanted to model their city after New York. Some of them had been to New York City, so they were really excited to, use some of those things that they, had seen in New York and had admired. So, I think for me, it's becoming that, I know these towns are not going to be so beautiful, and that's fine. I'm fine with that. I have resolved myself to accepting that. But I am loving, you guys, I'm loving what's coming out of this. Just all the collaborative piece. And they're so excited. You have to see them. It's like, in many ways, I'm sure it feels like play, because it's getting into their imagination. unfortunately, part of the audio that hopefully I can say, but I don't know at this point, one of the little girls did explain. I asked her, like, what do you like about this? And she explained she loved that she was being able to imagine something and doing something with her imagination. And that's really what I want to do more of in my classroom. I know there are things that have to be done, but I really want to find ways like this where, we do shapes anyway. I want to incorporate more of this kind of, aspect where they're getting to design and build and, tap into what these kids are really good at anyway at age 5 and 6. And having said that, I think this is, at any age we should, we really need to get our kids designing and building and creating things, but obviously at an age, something that's age appropriate. But that's been the biggest thing, and I'm just so excited to actually see how these towns end up, because I don't know how many cycles we're going to need. The game closes on February 22nd, but I'm also aware of the fact that we just simply may need more time, so I may extend and not give the final points until we're done with this. If I have to extend Mission 11, I will. Okay, well, I guess that is pretty much it. I just really wanted to spend some time on today's show to just kind of explain this, go a little more into depth of the Paper Town project that I'm doing. Just to kind of, just kind of share how, a little less structured it is, and allowing kids to really tap into things that I think we need them to tap into. And I know I'll continue to learn through this project. I'll probably learn things that I never want to do again. And that will help me to refine this kind of project. It's definitely something I think I want to continue, the actual project, Paper Towns. I'll want to continue that in the future with my, future groups, but at least this will allow me to fine-tune things that worked, that I want to keep and maybe build on, and then maybe elements of the project that just, they might just end up falling flat, and then I'll eliminate those. But anyway, in either case, I will keep all of you updated on how this project continues and definitely how this project ends. So with that, it is another wrap at this point. I have kind of fixed the audio. It's much better on the student segment that I had for this week. It's much better than it originally was, but just listening to it, I must say, I think it's going to be difficult sometimes to hear through all of the background noise. So I was, even though the audio sounds better, I don't think I can put it in this episode. So I will try to do another interview with some of my kids on the Paper Town and maybe include that in the student segment for next week, which is disappointing. I really wanted to include it in this episode where obviously it would be most appropriate, but such is life as a podcaster. So we will try that again. That's it for now. So wishing everyone a wonderful week. And as always, if you're doing something that you'd like to share with me in the classroom, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me on Twitter. That's where I've been very active as of recently. My Twitter handle is @Tammy. That's TAMIJ123. I'll see you next time. Wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. Before you go, don't forget you can catch our show notes online at www.timetoteach.libsyn. That's LIBSYN.com. We're also on Facebook at Time to Teach. Don't forget to check out our Facebook group, Teachers for Effective Curriculum. And if you're an educator with your own podcast show, I invite you to join our brand new Facebook group, Teachers Who Podcast. Let's grow a community where we can network, problem solve, and discuss anything and everything podcast related. I'll see you there.